Well, welcome to November, or as I mentioned, we will call it no apostrophe vember. We are going to learn, actually not learn, we all know how to say no. We're going to discover how to say it again. No is the first thing children learn to say. For those of you who have children, I know Yvonne, you just heartily agreed with me. It's the first word kids say. And it's, psychologists the world over have tried to assess, well, why do they say that? What does that mean? And, I think if I had to put my own spin on it, I think they have this cognitive awareness of the world that isn't like heaven, that is not like their God that they knew being designed and knit together in the womb. And they come out, it's like, no, I don't like it. No, don't tell me I can't do what I want. No. And over time, for whatever reason, as adults, we learn to say yes often, too often. And I know you all know this, but it really helps to hear it again. And tonight we are going to be asking a lot of questions. I will be asking you a lot of questions. So if you're in a space right now and you don't have pen and paper, I'm going to ask you to run and grab that. And if you're watching the recording later, then hit pause, go and grab that and a few oils that are your favorite, some essential oils that you enjoy breathing in. Stress Away and Lavender are stunning for an evening class for discussing a potentially negatively triggering season like the next couple months that we're about to walk into. But we'll ask some questions and we'll discover maybe why you aren't able to say no as much as you did when you were little. And it may bring you back to a time of when you were encouraged to say yes, a lot of times against what we would want, against our wishes. For me, and not to make it about me, there's just sometimes it's easier to talk about myself in an example because I don't want to out anybody that I coach or anybody that I used to cut their hair. But I know for us, when I had children, there was a certain way that I knew was the right way to feed them. And peer pressure from my family and my husband, it was weird. And we didn't do that. And I regretted it for a while because my son ended up having cancer. And sometimes, every once in a while, when I feel pressure to say yes to something that I know is not good for us as a family, I remember that time of like, there was a time where I knew what was best for our health, but I didn't choose that. I chose to feed my children conventional ways that we would eat, right? Whatever, don't even want to get into that. And it steals me up to say, no, I'm not doing that. That's not right for our family. And so as we look ahead into this season, and it's weird because some of you, I know you've been with me for a long time. And a lot of us don't necessarily ascribe, we don't align with this season coming up. I don't align with chaos. It is not my jam. I like busyness. If you came to my house, you would probably think it was chaos. I don't think it's chaos. I love it. But I don't align with other people's chaos, the frantic, having to go do, be all the things. But when I walk outside, when I go to the market, when I do anything else in life, I'm up against other people who do align with that. And so when I think about this season, I remind myself, I don't ascribe to that. I don't align with it. In my four walls, we have this haven, this stunning little bit of heaven on earth, as much as I can make it be that way, with the foods we eat, the oils we diffuse, all the fun we have. But when we walk outside that door, I'm not in control of that, and neither are you. And so in these next few weeks, as we walk through November, possibly December, we'll see what the topic is. I really encourage you to start now tonight, put practices in that are going to help you say no. This all begins with the physical. So first we'll start with a time of breathing, as has been our practice, and we'll continue to do that. And whatever oil you feel is right for you right now. Weirdly enough, I have, if anyone remembers the Ula oils, I just grabbed Friends. I thought, I'm with Friends tonight. You guys, I should have grabbed Family. I feel like Monday nights have become more family. And let's just take a moment to breathe in. Remember, feet on the floor, a nice deep belly breath, and inhale. I've done my breath work before I hit turning on the Zoom, so I'm not going to do it for the full 30 seconds, but I want to encourage you guys to do it as I talk. Keep breathing in, probably about 4 rounds of deep breathing. Notice your heart rate slowing down. Notice just the feeling, the tension that you may have just from the day wash off, roll off of you. And as you practice that, know that this is probably the best thing I can encourage you to do over these next, what do we have left of the year? 9 weeks left of 2022 is breathe. I don't normally go to the market on Sunday. I just did because I was gone for the weekend, so I didn't get to go on Friday. And if I had gone on Thursday, everybody would have devoured what I bought, and I would have had to go on Sunday anyway. So we went on Sunday, and it was chaotic. I thought, wow, a lot of people come to the grocery store on Sunday. Why? Why are you all here? That seemed wild. And I found myself breathing a lot. The clarity, yes, clarity is a good oil, Sherry. Well done for tonight. That'll be great. But even when I do that, if I go pump gas, breathe. There's never a bad time to practice breathing. Breathing creates a slower heart rate. It creates that, I don't want to say it suppresses your adrenals. It suppresses the releasing of adrenaline and cortisol. And when you breathe, you open up the lungs, you oxygenate your brain with clear and fresh breath. And as you all know, when we pair it with an oil, the results are exponentially amazing. The oils go in and they help right your brain. They calm your nervous system. Breathing and then breathing with oils is probably the best thing you can do in these next 9 weeks. Thank you, Lord. Yes, parasympathetic nervous system. Oh, especially to use lavender, my goodness. No matter where you are, no matter what comes your way, if you would just pause and breathe, you'll be able to think clearer. Now, as always, you begin your day with breathing and your oils and supplements. We'll talk a little bit more about the breathing and the morning practice. But before you set out to create some massive shift, or even a small emotional shift, we must care for our physical body to increase our stamina. Here's why. When you have negative emotional stress, it stresses out the physical body. We feel that. We know that if something comes across our desk and it's upsetting or it's stressful, 100% of the time, every one of us on here and everybody watching later would be able to say, oh yes, I felt that in my stomach, my chest, my shoulders, my head. This is why in this time, in this season, it's imperative that you set up a good physical care routine. So here's the part of the day, the evening, where you're going to start writing down some answers to questions. I'd love it if we had a conversation about it, because like I mentioned in the beginning, this isn't the Jen Weir monologue, although a lot of times it becomes that, because I know I talk a lot and probably it's hard for you guys to get in a word in edgewise, but I'll try to take a breath in between my questions. So here's my first question to you. And those of you watching later, you know, this might be if you're driving and listening passively, I would encourage you to pause and then listen at a later time. I'm sorry, I was distracted by someone who needs the link. Are you taking a daily routine of supplements? Yes or no? And then if you are, actually, let me ask this. If you are not, do you know what kind of supplements you need for your body? Do you know how to figure out what you need for your body? Yes, daily supplements. Got off a little bit. I'm with you, Yvonne. I feel you. Super B is your number one. I love that. Yes, Pamela. Good. Good. Lori. Awesome. So those of you who are on, yes, you take your daily supplements. That's fantastic. For those of you watching later and you don't take them, I'd ask the question, do you know how to get them, or do you know what would be the right thing for you? And then if not, reach out to somebody, reach out to me or anybody that you know who is well-versed in supplements or physical health, and just ask the question. If you're in my group Healing Haven, I'm making up an assessment right now, and hopefully we'll have it shared in the next couple of days. And if you're not in my group and you're watching later and you want this assessment, message me and I'm happy to send it to you. But how to assess like what you want to support in your body. So that's something that I can help you with. Now, next to that, so you take your supplements, you know what you've got right now, Super B1, Algiles, all the daily supplements. What will you face in the next 9 weeks? Meaning, who will you face? Will you be around a lot of family? Even if, I have to pause. Yes, Brenda, thank you. So Brenda and I work at Kairos Life Health, I was at Health Institute. Sometimes my brain like smushes words together. Kairos Life Institute, I was reading it on her graphic, and we offer a scan to help see what you need. It's pretty cool, by the way. Brenda does it and it's amazing. So hit her up, guys, if you want a scan. But who are you going to see? If you're here and you know that you're going to see family and you're excited to see family, and there's dozens of little kids lick everything, they pick everything up, they carry all kinds of interesting things to the family functions. If you know that ahead of time, you might up your vitamin D intake, vitamin C, but do it now, because it takes your body 3 to 4 months for your cells to completely turn over so that it can be strengthened. I would hear people say, oh, before I go on an airplane, I just take extra vitamin C. All awesome, super great. But if you knew you were going to go on an airplane, unless you were like, super short notice and you got the tickets the night before, if you've known for at least a week or two, start taking them when you schedule your flight. When my husband and I went to Ecuador for the retreat that Young Living sent us on, we started, I don't even know what to call it. It wasn't a detox, but some of you guys who know more natural health medicine have the words better than I do. But, we took Paragize. Yes, Paragize. I'm thinking, is that the one for the dog? The one that's for the humans. We took that. We took Digize every day. We started supporting our bellies about 2 months before we left. And we were totally fine. We didn't eat any weird food, but in any case, but you prep ahead of time. You just sort of think, just take a minute and say, what is my next couple of weeks, months going to look like? If you're entering into a really busy season work-wise, when I was a hairdresser, November and December were notoriously busy. It was so fun, but I was around about 1 million people in a very short span of time. If I used supplements back then, I would have taken an extra dose of vitamin B, an extra dose of probiotic. Really just being aware Being aware of what you need will help propel you into an incredible season ahead. Because you all know when you feel good physically, sometimes if Aunt Sally says that your sweet potato casserole is utter trash, you're like, I don't care, Sally, I feel amazing. You can just give me your portion, and I'll have an extra helping. You know, like if you're not feeling icky and you're feeling full of energy, sometimes Aunt Sally's words just roll off, no worries. Sometimes. The next thing is, what does your morning routine look like? This is huge. And I want to give a few moments for you all to write this down now. Because if you do it later, like when we get off the call, I'll do it tonight, you won't. Do it right now. What does your morning routine look like? Does it include looking at your phone first thing? I mean, I'm totally going to out myself. Since my husband was gone, yes, I had no one to talk to in the morning. So I'm like, oh, what's happening on my email today? That's not healthy. Because many times I get an email, I'm like, yeah, I probably didn't need to see that before I had my Jesus time, and certainly not before coffee. Well, Jesus probably obviously way better than coffee because that keeps me in my right mind. But is that your routine? Is that healthy for you? Is that strengthening? Do you begin with journaling, with prayer, with using your oils, with taking your supplements? And if you have a good practice of not looking at your phone, my goodness, that is fantastic. Keep doing that. Keep not doing that. It's double negative, isn't it? The next question is, how much do you move in the day? How many of you guys ever watched Biggest Loser? Did anybody ever binge out on that show? Am I alone in that? You did, Christy? Oh, yay. We're like secret. We did. My husband and I, this is so bad. We would watch Biggest Loser eating a bowl of ice cream. That was before we went healthy. I am not ashamed of it. I say it, this is the life I lived. I would be big and pregnant, and sometimes I would hold a bowl of ice cream on my belly and be like, wow, those people are doing so good. Good for them. Probably thinking I might be on Biggest Loser after I have one of these babies. But I got a lot of really good info off of that show. One of the trainers encouraged people, because you are at this camp and you are just with other people getting thin for however many weeks. And then you go home to your real life, and some of them had a pack of kids or a husband or a job or whatever, and it's really hard to keep those habits. So one of the trainers said, make sure you even get accidental exercise. You guys, that has stuck with me for, what are we going on, 16 years of, me first hearing that. An accidental exercise is this: when you go to the market or any appointment that you have, anytime you have to leave the house, park somewhere and walk to your destination, park as far away as you can. And it may not seem like a big deal, but in the days that we all have these little, arm held step counters, or even in your phone, I didn't know, but it does have a thing where, it counts your steps for you. In those times, every step counts. I was telling you, when I went to the market on Sunday, it was packed. I thought, well, good, I'm getting my accidental exercise. I darn near had to park over at their gas station before I could go in, which was fine because in the end, I had my big old cart. And so now I'm getting some arm exercises. and I'm able to get some more steps in, it all adds up. And I promise you, as we're talking about this, you might be like, how is this happening? How is this helping me with saying no? Trust me when I say it does. It does, because when you are physically feeling good, there's this steeling of your spine that rises up in you. Some other ways that you can get accidental exercise is taking multiple trips in and out when you're taking things in from the car. I'm somebody that I would rather, I don't know, break the bags than have to take more than one trip. I'm like, well, look, I'm building my muscles. No, I'm not. I'm aggravating myself and twisting up the thing around my arm. Taking more trips gets you there. One thing I learned this weekend at this event that I was at, and I'll share it with you. I'm literally going to share it with anybody who will sit for a moment, but a woman spoke on fitness, which I thought was really neat because she shared just about her journey. And she said, take a 10-minute walk after you eat. I thought, oh, that's really brilliant. And you can even just walk around your house. If it's dark, you don't want to go out. But she said, if you can't, she talked about Thanksgiving or holiday dinners, Hanukkah and Christmas and all of that. And she said, if you can't get up and everyone's just talking and sitting at the table, what you can do, and I don't want to show you because I don't want to show you my cool socks I have on in any case. And also I don't want to have to try to lift my leg that high. But if you're under the table, if you flex your foot like this back and forth, it doesn't, it mimics that walking motion, and it actually helps you to not have the weight, all that stuff sit with you. It's like going for a walk. So just do it as often as you can. And then of course we're all sitting there like this, doing this with our feet under the table. And it really does help. It really does help. You can't have, I know women who have been pregnant, like, yeah, you can get fat in your ankles, but it's really difficult to get fat pockets on your feet and your ankles. So doing this helps move all the blood and all the lymph, all the circulation. So just a little tip. Okay, now we've assessed that. Look at your list, make little notes, maybe in now, or you can do this later because I know you will, you've written it out. But decide some things that you might need to implement. Maybe you do need to think about what you're doing in the next few weeks, couple of months. Maybe you do need to get a scan. Whatever it is, just make a little note to yourself and do it as soon as you can. These things are critical in this season because we will be inundated, not just with obligations, but I'm hoping by the end of our time in the next few weeks, you'll be able to assess what you want to do, what is on your mandate from the Lord, really. That's the bottom line, really, honestly. And what you need to do. And other people in the world will start to feel all the stuff and all the stress. And you guys, frequencies, it's a thing. It's a thing. And when you come in contact with anybody else's frequency that's low, they become frequency vampires or energy vampires. Have you met these folks? Where it's like you're around them and all of a sudden you're like, why do I feel this way? Stealing up your physical, thank you, Brenda, for that word, physical resilience is important. So now we get to the good part. I love in any emotion class I teach, or anytime I start with a new coaching client, I ask them, let's start with the end in mind. What are you hoping, if it's our coaching, what are you hoping this will do for you? If it's our emotion class, what do you hope to gain from this time? What do you want the end to look like? So we always begin with the end in mind. We begin basically from the end, and then we go back to the beginning. So take a minute and ask yourself, what do I really want this season, these next few months, to look like? If you were in the chat in our Healing Haven group, I asked people to share just one thing. And some of you said things like, peace or freedom, knowing your authority. But what are some things that you're hoping to gain? What do you want it to look like? And then I would ask you, why are you on this call? You can share with me in the chat or just write it down. And do those two things align? What you're hoping to gain from this call, why you're on here, and then what you want to see these next few weeks, couple of months, what do you want them to look like? Do they align? Where's the gap? We're calling this November, discovering how to say no. Since I was probably 20, I've said no pretty well, except for a few examples that I've mentioned with my family, with my husband, that sort of thing. But with my outside, like outside sphere, work-wise, clients, yada, yada, it's easy to say no because when I would cut hair, I'm only one person. I only have two hands. I can't cut this one's hair and color this one. I would have to say no. And there's only 24 hours in a day. And as much as I'm not a huge fan of sleep, that. But when it comes to family, many times we have such a struggle saying no. And it's important to discover why that is. Not necessarily a deep dive into all your emotional psyche and any trauma or emotional upheaval that you had. This isn't the time for that, though it can be if we want to dive in a little bit deeper, more one-on-one or in a smaller group setting. But asking yourself lightly, right? Maybe more surfacey. Why can't you say no? Why is that tricky for you? Perhaps you can't say no because you don't even know why you'd say no or what it is that you really want. Perhaps you're waiting for your partner, your spouse, for men that are watching later, your wife, to make a change, and then things would be different. I see this so often. Well, if so-and-so would do this. When we begin to understand that God has us all on our own path and our own journey, even a husband and wife, though the two are one, we all have different callings. And waiting for our spouses to change or our children to get their act together or whatever the situation is the opposite of wisdom. I don't even know what that is, because they have their own journey and you have yours. When if I look at my children, and shoot, if I waited on them, my gosh, nothing would ever get done. Because some of them, that things have to be just so. Some of them are running ahead of me. Some of them aren't even out of bed yet, that kind of thing. And if I say to them, I'm going to Target, they know if they want to go, their shoes better be on or the car's leaving. It's just that. I have a job to do. I have a mission to do. And sometimes I can't wait on other people. It's a very silly example, but that applies to a real life truth. I'm going to say this, and I just sense that somebody might feel a little ruffled, and please hear my heart. But a lot of times things don't get done because you're using somebody else as an excuse. It's so easy to blame somebody else, meaning, let's say, talk about family engagements. Oh, I have to go to my whoever's. I don't really want to go, but I have to because it's Christmas, it's Thanksgiving, it's Hanukkah, it's this, it's that, it's whatever. Well, that really is more, it's easier to stay the same than making a change, right? So then we ask the question, which is easier? Let me actually, let's do a little Q&A here. Which is easier, to create a change, to make a change, or to have things stay the same? We'll do a little poll for everybody listening. There's no right or wrong answer, by the way. Status quo, okay. Same, staying the same, okay. Staying the same seems easier, but sometimes hurts more than changing. Christy, that's how I see that. I see that. To make a change is hard, but if you are doing it isn't working for you, then staying the same in the long run is harder. Yeah. I love all these thinkers and just thinking about, staying the same, keeping it status. It does seem easier. It truly does. But in the long run, if we don't jump over, it hurts in the long run. What's the middle option? I like that, Laura. Is there a both option? That would have been my husband's question. I need both. Sometimes staying the same feels like it's easier, but in the long run, especially if it doesn't align with our purpose and what we're supposed to do, meaning like our calling, what we were designed for, then in the long run, it just hurts. It doesn't do anyone any good. This session, doing these Novembers, really, we could easily wrap it up and simply say, okay, all those family and friend obligations, all those work obligations that you have in front of you this season, just opt out. Just say no thanks, right? I mean, isn't it funny that we're sitting here talking about how to say no? That would be so simple to say, but there's all these emotional pulls and maybes and we have tos and all of that. But this is why I had you guys write down the end from the beginning. What is it that you want? And then asking the question, why am I not creating that in my own life? Family expectations, right. And then we ask, well, why do those family expectations have such a hold on us? This weekend, I discovered something. Really, the Lord just dropped something in my mind. I don't even know if it had anything to do with the event I was at, or he was just chatting at me. But something occurred to me. And as I was thinking about tonight, I thought, should I share this? I'm going to share this because I think this will help some of you. But I see a lot of, if you read things on Facebook or you listen to different sermons or things that people are saying, there's a lot of like, this is coming. God has all these good things for you. And just wait, just hang on a little bit longer. And something occurred to me this weekend. What if everything that you were praying for, anything that you were wanting that needs to change, those of us who have sought to have things different in our lives, what if there's already been a path carved out? What if it's now, he's just waiting there for you, me, them, they, whoever, to step in? What if freedom is right now, today, yours in abundance, right now? But you just had to step in. I suspect many of you already know that because you're here. You want me to tell you how to say no, and we'll discover that. It's going to be how you do it in your own way. But I have a feeling that if we all knew exactly what we wanted was ours for the taking, because here's the thing, the word desire, really broken down in Latin, means of the Father. Of the Father's heart. A lot of times what we have in our desire is his heart. And so everything that you're wanting right now, he has it in his hands waiting for you to take it, to step out for it. I know that firsthand. I've experienced that time and time again. Some of the words and phrases that many of you've sent and that we've talked about on separately, not in a group: more joy, freedom, assurance. Get quiet for a moment and ask the question, why has this been escaping me for so long? What is preventing me from experiencing this, from feeling these things? Really get quiet. Is the answer anything other than perhaps you are preventing those things? As you ask these questions, remember to breathe. Remember to be gentle on yourself, to have grace. And as you think it through and really breathe in the oils, ask yourself, am I willing to now step in to what it takes to say no? In our emotions class, those of you who've been in our classes, maybe you've heard this before. We need to say it again. We'll finish our time for tonight. We'll keep going over the next couple weeks, but for tonight, I want to talk about auditing our circles, creating neighborhoods in our mind. And I think this will start to help you unpack some of the things that we discussed tonight and help you create the next few months in the way, not just that you want, but really what God sees for you. So this is not my own thinking. I've heard this in different from different friends, but I've heard people say like auditing your circles or boundaries or whatever. And one of my friends, she does, she's like the social work with children and families and that. And I love how she put it. And so I just share with what Krista told me a long time ago. But we talk about the neighborhood. And write this down, someone, if you don't mind putting it in the chat, but you have your porch pals, you have your sidewalk friends, and then across the street, neighbors, friends, what have you. This is so important to really get. Because when you think about people in your life who are putting family obligations on you, inputs. Thank you, Brenda. Porch, sidewalk, across the street. When you put them mentally in this place, now you can feel a little stronger, a lot stronger in most cases, and making your decisions. So we'll start with the across the street people, neighbors, family, whatever. When you think about your neighborhood, and folks are walking, to and fro past your house, if they're across the street, you might just wave. You may recognize them. We're in a brand new neighborhood, so everybody is unfamiliar to me. Everybody is across the street. But I quickly learned that a lot of people in this neighborhood long to be sidewalk friends and porch pals because they're just that kind of community, which I love. But I'm taking it slow because I'm like, hold up, I know about boundaries. But you're across the street, people are, you maybe know them, you recognize their dog. If you're like me, you probably know their dog's name before you know them. You're all about that. maybe they're children, but you just sort of wave. In a friend idea, well, if we think about those neighbors, I wouldn't ask that neighbor what they think I should do with my children, how I should discipline them. Would I? That would be weird, wouldn't it? And it's not because I don't know them, although that's part of it, but I don't have a relationship with them. We don't have an intimacy that we've bonded, that we've created through relationship, through years of trust. But in family, we think that blood relation means that these people who really should be across the street are now able to speak and give input into our lives and demand time and attention. I had a grandmother that was like that. I don't know why, but it's just the Lord. I didn't even know God until I was in my 20s. But I remember being late teen and she's like, oh, that's right. Guilt doesn't work on you. I'm like, yeah, I think it's weird. I don't know why you do that to us. And I never bought into her stuff because it just didn't feel good. And I watched the rest of my family jump on, walk on eggshells all around her. I thought, oh, that's weird. I don't want to do that. But there are some people in our families and our friendships and even in our workspace that should be across the street, and we bring them in. If we can mentally think who these people are, and maybe even jot that down now as we're talking, think of some people who you've let in a little too close that maybe we need to mentally shift. Now, the sidewalk folks, those are people, you know their name and you know their dogs. Maybe you've picked up their mail, they've picked up your mail when you're on vacation. You might have had them for dinner, maybe brought them a meal if they had a situation where they needed that, or vice versa. You know some things like the names of their kids, where they've gone to school, what they do for a living. And you might ask, like, hey, what kind of a lawnmower would you buy? Just some very light, surfacey questions. You might even ask, where do you go to church? Or, you have sort of somewhat of a trust because they seem like really good people. They're kind. You're kind to them, all of that. But again, if you had a moment in the middle of the night, had a situation, 911, I need some prayer, I need to talk to somebody, possibly these would not be those people. Because again, there's not that intimacy. There's not that relationship built. Do you have people in your life that need to move to the sidewalk that were a little too close? Or do you have people that maybe you have treated across the street and it's time to move them mentally to more sidewalk? Maybe it's time to cultivate better relationships, right? As we start to say no to some, this might be the time to extend your arm and bring those across the street people in to the sidewalk and possibly even into the porch as we get to talking about that. This is something I see in my own life and my children and really people that I coach, that we tend to have unhealthy relationships close. And then the ones that could be really good, we haven't made the space for them. So if we could flip-flop that, our lives would be richer for it. Kick them to the curb gently, of course. Yes. Spoken like a true Brenda. Yes. I love how gently, of course. Yeah, but get out of here. Go on. It's different personalities, right? Your porch pals. These are people that are just so close. What does the word of God say? Closer than a brother. A friend that sticks closer than a brother. These are people that you do life together. You share life together. I think about friends that I have like this. You've been at the birth of their children. Friends that I have friends like this, that when my husband passed, one lady came over. We've known each other, not on and off, but we've known each other for a handful of years. She came to the house. She's like, I don't know what to say, but I have coffee. I'm like, you speak my language. And I love that. She didn't know what to say. She didn't say anything. We just sat there and I sipped my coffee. That's a porch pal. That's a porch pal. That's somebody who doesn't know what to do, so they do all they know to do, which is usually say nothing. And then when they do know what to say, it's profound. and vice versa. You have that relationship with them. As I say this, this does not make across the street people, sidewalk people, all evil. I realize I paint that picture only because I think so many times in our world, especially as women, ladies, especially as women, we tend to accept whoever feels like they should be on our porch when they don't belong there. But that doesn't mean that they're all bad people or it's unhealthy relationship. Just really doing life. It's kind of like maybe you wouldn't talk to every single person, on Facebook about the most intimate details of raising your children or dealing with your spouse or your partner or anything like that. Right. But with the advent of social media, I think we just sort of throw everything out there for everyone to see. It's like some things are just meant for friends like this, right? Having said that, some of my dearest friends, seriously, dearest friends, people that I have asked at the wee hours of the night, I need you to pray for this right now, please. I've never met them in person. I've only seen them on social media. That's cool. That's our God. So with your porch people, family will always try to be your porch people. They know you the longest. They don't know you the best, but they know you the longest. But they may not have earned that right to sit there with you. These are people that you welcome into your home. You pour them the best cup of tea that you can make or the best cup of coffee. My husband thought everybody was a porch person because he loved to feed people. And I'd always be like, okay, how many cups of coffee? Could you come sit with us for a minute? But these are people that you genuinely just want to do life with, and you want them in their life and they want you in theirs. As we finish up this evening for this time, I want to leave you with those three categories and mentally assess who needs to go where. Are there people in your life for these next couple of months that you're like, oh, maybe you're dreading seeing? Maybe you wish you could see them, whoever they are, that would really be your porch people, and you're not getting the opportunity to see them. Is there a way you could adjust that? Take this list and the portion that you wrote, that what you want this to look like, and see, just again, for this next week, consider how can you make that a reality? What are you doing now that's causing it to not be? What's preventing you? Because there are 8 of you, 9 of us on this call. There can be 9 different scenarios. Emotional wellness is not a one-size-fits-all. In the next few weeks, I'm giving you tools, some hard truths, some soft lobs of over the line there, and some tangible things that you can do to make this next season full of joy, full of peace, and the way that God would want you to have it. I can assure you that nowhere in your life is chaos and disorder and unrest written in your book. I promise you. You remember Jesus slept in a boat, right? When a storm was trying to kill him. So as we step in and say, okay, why is this not occurring? What is preventing this? Ask yourself some hard questions. Take the time to put in a daily practice of breathing. If you're not steeling yourself up physically, now's the time to do that. And when we come back next week, we'll walk through some releasing, some unhooking from the judgments we might have on other people, from the judgments that they might have for us, and from obligations. So I hope that you'll consider joining me next week.